Coach Grime, I see you, baby. I appreciate the love. My aunt told me to let you know that she's still mad at you for ruining her dress and that she still can't taste on her left side. I don't really know what that means, but that's not why I'm here anyway. I'm here to teach you punks how to play Blood Bowl Team Manager. Now, I know what you're thinking before you run to Amazon trying to buy this game. You cannot do that. This game is out of print and it is stupid expensive if you want to buy it with all of the components here. But if you are a glutton for punishment and if you're playing Blood Bowl, then you can buy these components and I will teach you what to do with them right now. Let's start with the board. Okay, now this is what a standard week of Blood Bowl looks like. Blood Bowl takes place over the course of 5 weeks, ending with the Blood Bowl in week 5. You got some tournaments thrown in there, but I'll get to that here in a second. But this is basically what the layout looks like when you're starting a week. Now here you have the highlight reels. These are the games that you will play your characters to in order to win rewards and upgrades and stuff like that that you can carry on in weeks afterwards. Up here you have the Spike magazine card, which is basically like a modifier for the week. Sometimes that's a tournament, sometimes it's a card that modifies what happens that week. It's all random. There are a lot of those cards. You will only use 5 of them, but there are more than that, so you get a lot of replayability just from that aspect alone. Okay, each player is a manager of a team, and there are 12 factions if you have all of the expansions. There are 8 if you just have the base game. But basically what you're going to be doing is playing your players to these highlight reels in order to win the rewards that you may want from that particular game. Now, this is how you read one of the highlight reel cards. Okay, so this is a standard highlight reel card. You will see here you have the end zone rewards. Now, all you have to do to get this reward is be alive at the end of the week. Now, here in the middle, you have the reward that you are fighting for. And in order to win this reward, you must have the most star power at that game at the end of the week. Now, there's nothing that can stop you from getting the reward in the end zone as long as you are alive. But if you happen to be the only person at the end zone or only person in the game at the end of the week, you get everything on the card. Doesn't happen often, but it does happen. Okay, you'll notice here that these highlight reel cards only have space for 2 teams to play and battle. All of the highlight reel cards are this way with the exception of tournaments. I'll get to that later. But the highlight reel cards, you will only ever battle 1 versus 1. Now, of course, obviously you have more than 2 players playing the game. So it is the first 2 players that commit a card to the highlight reel that will battle for that particular reward that is in the middle of the end zone on that particular card. Okay, so how do you win the reward in the middle? You win the reward by having the most star power at the highlight reel at the end of the week. How do you do that? You do that by playing your players at the highlight reel. So let's go ahead and look at the anatomy of a card so you can kind of see how that works as well. Okay, so this is one of my favorite cards. This is Max Spleen Ripper. He does a lot of things, so it makes it a lot easier to explain card anatomy using a card like this. There are only a few things that he doesn't do, but we'll cover those things here. Right here at the top, this is his star power. Every card has this. This is the number that you add up at the end of the week to determine whether or not you win the particular highlight that it is played at. Now, right here around the middle, you will see its attributes. These are the things that the card can do, basically to interact with other cards across from you or the game state itself. There are only 5 of them, so we'll go through those here really quick. The first thing and most important probably thing that you will be doing is tackling. What you roll and the decision that is made on what happens is determined by the star power of each card. Now, if the star power of the card that is tackling is higher than the star power of the card getting hit, you will roll 2 die and the attacker will choose the result. If the star power is even, you will roll 1 die and the attacker will choose what happens. It'll be very easy. There will be one thing that happened. Now, If the attacking player star's power is lower than the person they are tackling, they will roll 2 die again, but the person being tackled will choose what happens on the die. It gets very, very scandalous when you do things like that. Doesn't happen very often, but sometimes you got to risk it. Okay, this other icon here, this is ball movement. This allows you to take the ball from another player unless they have a attribute that stops you from doing that, putting the ball at midfield or taking the ball for your players themselves. Okay, here we have sprinting. You basically draw a card, look at it. If you would like to keep it, you can, and discard one of the other cards from your hand to your discard pile, or you can discard the card that you just picked up, but it's basically a way to scry through your deck. So this icon here represents fouling, my favorite icon. Basically what you do is you select a card from your opponent, look at it, decide whether or not they get to keep it. If you decide that they keep it, it goes back in their hand, no harm, no foul, but you can decide to have them discard that card, and if you do that, they will draw another card to replace the card that you just had them discard. After that, we have the bread and butter of most teams, and this is cheating. You must do this if it is on the card unless it specifically gives you a choice. If it does not, you must do this. All of the other actions that you can take, tackling, ball movement, sprinting, fouling, those are all optional. Cheating in this game is mandatory. And how it works is whenever you play a card that has this icon, you must assign one of these cheat tokens to it face down, unless you have a card or something that lets you look at it. You assign it face down. And then at the end of the week, you flip them over, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Sometimes it's fans and you get points directly from the cheat token. Sometimes it's an ejection and that player is ejected as if you never played that card to that highlight reel at all. Now, let's go back really quick though in talking about tackling downed players and injuries. So right here, we're going to have one of the players tackle their opponent so you can see the dynamics of how that works. Their star power is higher than the person that they are tackling, so they're going to roll 2 die and choose the result. Now, obviously, for the sake of this example, we're going to choose the tackle situation. Now, in this particular case, this player goes down. They're in the downed state. You will notice here on the card that they have now a new star power, and sometimes here is a brand new action that can be taken. This action stands for resurrection. If a card has this icon, when they are downed, you roll 1 of the tackle die, and if you roll the X, they get back up like nothing ever happened. Now, you can only do this 1 time per player. If you do it and you fail, you do not get to try again for any reason. But if another player comes to this same highlight reel with the tackle ability and they choose to tackle the downed player and they hit them, that player is injured. And an injury is just what it sounds like. They are removed from this highlight reel and they cannot impact this particular game in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Now, another thing we should discuss before we get into rewards is the ball. Having the ball, using the ball skill. Now, if you have the ball at the end of the week, you have a +2 to your star power in adding up the star power that you have accumulated for that week. But more importantly, if even including that ball, if you tie, the winner is the person who holds the ball. So ball control is very important for some races in order to eke out victories and make sure that they have more star power than their opponent at the end of the week. Some teams have special things that they can do that kind of play into their theme of who they are and or what they are. For example, the Nurgle are repulsive, and so they spread disease, and it lowers the star power of any opponents that may oppose them. Or the vampires, for example, have bloodlust, and they can choose to attack their own players that might be downed in order to strengthen other players that are there at that matchup. Okay, so let's talk about some of the rewards that you can get to help carry you to Blood Bowl supremacy. Now, this icon represents a team upgrade. When you get one of these cards, it is specific to your faction. It often helps to enhance something that only your faction does or that your faction does well and helps you do that better, but it is specific to that faction. None of the other factions will get that specific card. On the other hand, this icon represents a staff upgrade. It's more of a generic upgrade. Any faction can use any staff upgrade to its fullest potential. These cards give you flags at the end of the game, or they give you matchup actions that you can do once a week, or they give you certain types of, when conditions are met, things that you can do. These are a generic upgrade that anybody can get, anybody can use. This is a star player. Now, you can choose any star player from your particular league. It doesn't have to be a star player from your particular faction. So you can have Nurgles and Goblins on the same team if you draw those star player cards, but they're all good, and it also helps because you may be good at one thing, but another faction's good at another thing, and now you can marry those things and have both things in your deck, okay? So these fans, this is what the game is all about. Whoever has the most of these at the end of the game wins. So it's probably the most important reward, I would say. But some of the staff upgrades give you different ways to get fans. Some of the team upgrades give you other ways to get fans. So it's not always about going straight for the highlight reels that give you the most fans. Sometimes you got to weigh the options of the rewards you need in order to be able to compete for fans towards the end of the game. These are contracts. These are rewards that are straight fans. At the end of the game, when you're counting up how many fans you have, you flip them over, add these to your total. Hopefully it takes you to victory. Okay, let's talk about tournaments really quick. Sometimes the Spike magazine card is not a modifier for the week, but instead it is a tournament. When this happens, it is a free-for-all for star power. This can happen randomly with the exception of the Blood Bowl. The Blood Bowl is always at the end of the game, no matter how many weeks you decide to play. Blood Bowl is always last, and that is an example of a tournament. But when it happens before then, it is a free-for-all for star power. Anybody that wants to play there can play there. Whoever has the most star power at the end of the week gets the first place prize. Second place gets second place, and all you have to do is have a card alive, and you will get the third place prize for the tournament. So that is how you play Fantasy Flight's Blood Bowl Team Manager. There are a lot more rules and a lot more mechanics if you play with the expansions Sudden Death and Foul Play, but we're not doing that today. Today we're playing the base game, a game of football, glory, and mayhem. I don't know if that's important, but it's on the box, so I'm saying it. Back to you, Vic.